Hi, we had this Delta faucet installed a few years ago, and we started to notice that the water flow seemed to be restricted and that the spray patterns were really messed up. So I decided to take it apart and take a look at it. So it took me a while to figure out how to even get this thing apart, but after I did, I went back to capture this video. So the first thing you need to do is remove the retainer ring that's around the top of the wand. And I had a couple of these aerator tools. None of them seemed to work, so I had to resort to using some fine nose, long nose, needle nose pliers to fit into those little slots around the edge, and then getting that loosened up. Once it was loosened up, it rotated and turned out smoothly. Just a word of caution when you remove the wand head from the faucet arm, that you don't lose this screen filter here. You don't want that thing in the garbage disposal. I don't think the disposal will like that too much, so make sure you keep track of that. The next thing we got to do is to get this button off, and the way that I found easiest to get that off was to pry it from the top part of it there. And if you do it the way that I just showed you there, it'll pop off both the rocker assembly and the diverter rod. So set that upper magnetic plate aside, and then you can pull the entire diverter assembly out. The diverter itself can be removed pretty easily. Just rotate it until those pegs align so that you can pry it up. And obviously you want to be pretty careful with this. I don't know how sturdy this plastic really is, but with a little bit of prying it came off pretty easily. And we'll get back to that later. I did clean and lubricate that as well. So at the spray end of the head, there are a number of screens in there, and they were a little bit tricky to get to. First thing you wanted to do is remove a set screw. It's a 1.5 millimeter hex head, and you'll need to get that set screw out of the way. And then I negotiated getting this thing out of there by gently pushing and prying, and it took a little bit of work to negotiate getting that out of there. So I just took some time and pried it up gently. Again, didn't want to break anything here, but there is a green screen that was just completely filled with debris. We'll show you that here in a second. And as you can see, it's a bit of a struggle to get those out of there, but that's one of the things that I think is pretty important to do if you want to maintain the proper spray. So that green screen was just filled with black debris. So I was able to pull that out and get that cleaned. So I removed the green screen, the green plastic screen, pried that up gently, and that was the most important piece I think that needed to be cleaned. I also took apart the two screens that were the white and the gray. Not so sure that they're as important as doing that green screen, but I did take those apart as well, as you'll see here in a second. And those things mate together. There's a pin and a socket that each of them fit into, and then they go back into that housing. So here's the diverter assembly, and I took that apart as well, cleaned the rod, cleaned the O-rings, and lubricated those. I took this head assembly and I soaked it in about 1.5 inches vinegar in a cup, and after a couple of hours took it out, cleaned it up with a toothbrush, and used a fine wire to go into each of those holes to clear out any debris. With everything clean and lubricated, now it's just a reversal of the process to put it all back together again. So the diverter assembly goes in, locks into place. All those screens are cleaned out now and lubricated. I put those back into place. The gray one and the white one fit into there, and then the green one fits into the other end. Then we slide that into the black housing, align the set screw, almost put that in correctly there, but once you've got that aligned, put the set screw back in place. Then you can take this and slide it back into the housing. And then we've got to install the rocker switch and make sure that those are positioned properly with the diverter rod and the rocker assembly. Then we put this retainer ring back in place, and the screen goes on top of that when that's done. Once you've got this thing all reassembled, you can put it back into the head, into the faucet. And if you've done everything right, you should get a nice clean spray. So thanks for watching. Hope this helped. Have a good day.